If you're a parent walking on eggshells, like you're afraid that saying the wrong thing might make your teen's symptoms worse, this video is just for you. Because today we're going to talk about what actually helps teens with functional neurological disorder, short for FND, and what, without realizing it, can quietly keep your teen's FND stuck. So in this video, I'm going to cover 3 things. Number 1, what FND really is and why symptoms behave the way they do. And second, how focusing on symptoms can accidentally keep the brain-body loop in a stuck mode. And third, most importantly, what you as a parent can do and say instead to support the real recovery. So let's dive in. Hi, my name is Dr. Lee. I'm a pediatric health psychologist and the founder of Teen FND Academy, an online coaching program that helps teens with FND just like you and their parents get their lives back. I care deeply about this work because I see what families go through when FND takes over their life. The fear, the confusion, and the feeling of walking on eggshells. And I also see what's possible when families are given clear guidance like the roadmap and the right tools. Most parents I work with are literally walking on eggshells. I hear this all the time. You're trying to be careful. You don't want to upset your teen. You don't want to trigger symptoms. And you definitely do not want to make things worse. Do you hear me? Do you agree with that? That fear is real. I want to acknowledge that. And it totally makes sense. However, here is the hard truth. Silence, over accommodation, and constant symptom focus can actually keep the nervous system stuck for your teen, whether they like it or not. So understanding why this happens is the first big step parents need to take towards recovery. And here is something every parent needs to understand about functional neurological disorder. FND is not a damage. It is a real thing, and it is not a broken body. There's nothing wrong with your child's brain and body. What then? It is literally a miscommunication between the brain and the body. So the brain is sending the mixed messages to the body, and the body is sending the confusing message back to the brain. And that's usually what happens. To make it simple, I like to explain FND this way. Think of symptoms of FND as a fire alarm. It doesn't matter what symptom your child has. Not that I don't care, but just for the sake of conversation, think of all of the symptoms, any of the symptoms of FND as a fire alarm. The alarm is very loud and it's disruptive. It gets everyone's attention like any symptom does. But the alarm itself is not the fire. Would you agree? The real issue is what's happening in the system, which is the brain sending mixed or inaccurate signals to the body and vice versa. In FND, the fire alarm can go off even when there is no fire. And when we spend all our time chasing symptoms, like monitoring them, managing them, reacting to them like a 911 emergency, it is like trying to silence the alarm without fixing the wiring or the actual fire. So the alarm might be quiet for a while or a moment, but it is literally going to keep going off until the system feels safe again or the fire is out. So this is where the big shift happens, because in conventional medical model, you're like where I used to live for a long time, you are taught to focus on the symptoms and manage the symptoms. And there is a reason for that. There's nothing wrong with it. There are certain situations, not FND, but certain situations that you have to focus on the symptoms and monitor the symptoms, especially when you're in a hospital setting. That is where their focus is on. But when it comes to FND or something rather chronic, again, it's not permanent, but something like FND, focusing on the symptom is exactly like focusing on the alarm, not the actual fire. Okay, so the goal is really to stop talking about symptoms and start talking about skills. That is how the recovery happens for FND. So instead of asking, how are your symptoms today? Try asking something like, what is your goal today? And we talk about GPS, the goal, purpose, and then steps all the time. So there are so many videos. Or what skills are you working on right now if you're not familiar with the GPS worksheet? This shifts the brain from monitoring the danger to building control slowly with practice, right? So here's the deal. This change can feel and likely will feel uncomfortable at first, especially for your teen's brain and body. If this feels already hard, then you're not alone, because let me know in the comments. And you're gonna feel weird as well when you are shifting what to focus from symptoms or fire alarm to the actual fire. All right. The Family Guy shares a handful of practical strategies to help you get out of this survival mode. And it shows why our structured approach gets such a strong result. Grab it from the description below. It is free. So let's talk about a few common phrases parents use with the best intentions that can actually keep teens stuck. So here's the deal. Instead of saying, well, you were fine just yesterday, and why is this happening again? Try this. I see today is a tough moment, which we actually call it a learning day. What tool could you use to help yourself feel safer just right now for a little bit? Or instead of saying, just push it through, you can do it, like the cheerleader model, try this. Let's find your sweet spot, even though it may not be perfect. One small step still counts as a progress, and it definitely counts as a win in the name of FND recovery. How about this one? Instead of saying, you need to go to school or you will fall behind, or you need to go to school or you're gonna fall behind. How about saying this? School is part of the goal, and let's make a plan that helps you show up your way. Even though you might make a ton of mistakes along the way, that's okay. It is still showing up. See, these small language shifts send a very different signal to the nervous system for your teen. And once parents, you understand this, how you speak starts to matter more than what you actually say. So for example, I can say the same thing in a good way, like, hey, school is part of the goal. Let's make a plan that helps you show up your way. Or, school is part of the goal, so you have to come up with the plan that helps you show up your way. See, I'm saying the same thing, but the how I say it is very different, right? So this is some of the things that I talk about in my program, using the connection, really validate and then understand where they're coming from instead of correcting, like your way is the only way. And this is where how you speak really starts to matter more than what you actually say. So your words matter, not because they fix everything, okay? You wish, but you don't. But because they guide your child's brain. So use calm tones even when symptoms spike. Be curious, not controlling. Just ask simply, what's one thing you can try right now? And even if the teen doesn't know exactly, that is not your job to ask this question. If you want to see how my full program of Teen FND Academy works and how it's helping families resolve FND for real, then watch the video linked in the description box below. Remember, you're not about controlling. You're just being curious and being there. And repeat the steady messages of something along the lines of, yeah, you're safe. I believe in you. I know you're working on this. I trust you. Any of those things. See, you don't need the perfect script. In fact, there is no such thing as a perfect script to change the outcome, because then you're basically committed to the outcome, which you have no control over, and you're almost guaranteed to feel super frustrated if the outcome doesn't come with what you actually say, right? That's why you don't need the perfect script. You just need to stay steady. And when parents shift how they speak, teens actually feel safer. Their nervous system then responds in a good way. And this is exactly what I coach inside Teen FND Academy, because how we talk changes how the brain hears the world, starting with you. So if you're a parent watching this, comment parent below. You're definitely not alone in this one. And if you're ever wondering whether you should accept your teen's FND to begin with or keep encouraging this recovery talk, watch the next video to understand how acceptance and recovery actually work together.